Hello and welcome to Let's Get Growing. It's Jo here, the educational gardener from Bulwer Forest Garden, and it is mid-August and finally we've had some rain. We had some nice gentle rain. Things have greened up a little bit. We haven't really had lots and lots of rain though, because I did some digging yesterday and it's still quite dry. The ground's quite hard, so we could do with a bit more, but it's a bit cooler. So we're going to start with this week's packs. So I'm going to start with, you should have a strip with 3 pansies. Now the reason why I've chosen the pansies is because of the heat wave. A lot of our flowers, the perennials especially, have been really hit by the hot weather, and they've kind of finished flowering and they're going to seed now, and there's not much around for the poor old bees to feed on. So we're going to do some pansies because they will flower in the next few weeks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 3 pansies all together in a pot, and this is the pot that I grew the coriander in. Not particularly successful because it didn't like the hot weather and it went to seed, but I'm not going to waste the seeds. I'm going to take them off and save them, and I'll either replant them or produce them in a curry. So that's my seeds, coriander seeds. I'm going to take those out and compost them. And then I think there should be enough goodness in this soil for the pansies. They're not they don't need too much nutrition. So I'm going to take out my first plant. I'm going to tease it out because it's filled its pot a little bit, just gently, and then I'm going to put one in there, squeezing them, don't pull them out. Right. Pull the tops and leave the roots behind. Another one in there, and then third one in there, and that'll be a little bit of autumn food for the bees. Okay, and then I will put my label in and give them a gentle water. So that's the pansies. Nice bit of autumn colour. And then the next thing you should have is a little pot of chives. Now you don't have to do anything with these, I know you don't, because I've only just separated these. So you're going to leave them in this little pot, watering them until the roots start to appear here. So I'm just going to show you what I did to divide these plants. So these were some seedlings that somebody gave us. So all I did was tease them apart. I just needed a few more plants. I had enough to give to you guys, so I've got a bunch here, and I'm going to trim off the roots at the base, and then I'm going to trim off some of the top. Put my compost in the pot, dib a hole, put that back, press it down nice and firm. I'm going to get my second bunch. I'm going to do the same thing again. Trim off the roots, trim off the tops. Compost in my pot, dib a hole. And I've got 2 plants out of 1 there. So you just have to water them and they should soon respond. So that's if you wanted to separate chives in the future, you know what to do. So I'm going to look at, the next thing, the last thing in your pack is a strawberry plant. So again, you don't need to do anything with these because I've just propagated these, and at the end of the video I'll show you how I did that. So that's today's packs. That's nice and simple for you because we've got to look after some things that we did from previous packs. So last time at the end of July you got a little pot with a few Sweet William seedlings in for you to prick out and pot on into individual containers, and these are mine. So now they're at this stage. There's a nice clear pot here so you can see the roots here, and they've filled their little containers. And these Sweet Williams will be for flowering next year, so late spring, early summer. So you can see they've really nicely filled their pots. So I'm just going to gently tease out there, and then I'm going to get a bigger pot, a bit of compost in the bottom, a plant in the middle, compost in around it, press it down, same again. And you could put, if you wanted, you could plant these out, or you could put a few in a big pot. But I was just going to put a few in some smaller pots for the time being, and then I can decide what I want to do with them at a later date. So if you're feeling a little bit like your garden's been trashed by this year's weather, it's good to be doing biannuals because you're thinking ahead for next year and rebuilding what you might have lost this year. So anyway, you get the idea. So I've done 3 there. Again, a water with a rose. And then this is my lettuce. So I gave you some Odette lettuces just to scatter, and I said that I was going to do it as a living salad. So these are a bit too big to prick out now. So, but I wasn't intending to do that anyway. So I sowed them nice and thickly because I wanted to just have that as like a living salad pot. So what I would do with this is just cut my baby lettuce leaves along there, and that I'm going to eat that with some lovely tomatoes that we've got in here, and homegrown cucumber with the lasagna that I've made. So that'll be nice for our tea tonight. I'm going to put it in this pot. And then what I would do with this is I would water it and see if I can get another lot of growth out of it, which may or may not happen, but I'll give it a try. It's worth a go. And then there was another, this was the rocket that we sowed. So they've done okay. I was going to grow them in here and just do the same thing, baby rocket, but I think I've changed my mind. And I think what I'm going to do is just, they don't like being transplanted, so rocket really does not like being transplanted. So if you're going to do this, you have to be very careful with it. So I'm going to take the whole thing out. Ooh, easier said than done. And then I'm just going to split it into 2. I'm going to try and keep them all together. And I'm going to put some compost in a pot, put them in the middle, my compost around it, press them in, give them a good water. That's that one. And then do the same with the other one. But I haven't got another pot. So anyway, you get the idea. So I'd have 2 pots there, and I think they'll do a bit better in those deeper pots, but we will see. So we'll have another look at what we've got in here. Tomatoes being a little bit hit, I think, by the heat wave. It looks a little bit, the leaves are all dried up. Probably could do with a feed, but I have got 2 ripe tomatoes there. So they're going with the salad for tea. And then, which I am quite excited about this really, spring onions in a pot. And I think they're going in tonight's salad as well. So I've got a nice little bunch of spring onions there. I don't want to leave them too much longer, because the tops are starting to sort of go a bit dried up there. So I think it's better to harvest them while they're still looking nice and fresh. So that's good. What else can I find for tea? So this was what was left of the giant carrots. Let's have a look what's happening in here. Whoa. That's alright. So I think I'm going to harvest all of these. So there's 3. And they were the Touchon carrots. So they were going into tonight's salad. What else? The cayenne pepper didn't do brilliant. It's got a little lupin grown in there. But it has got 2 chilies on it. So I'm going to leave them to ripen up. And then the chard. I did harvest some of this last time. So chard doesn't really like hot weather. I mean, it's what it's starting to do is starting to bolt. So it's kind of grown up here. Instead of putting leaves out from its base, it's started to thicken up its stem, and that means it's going to start to produce seeds. So I'm going to try and trick it, but once it starts to bolt, it's hard. So I'm going to cut them off. And then let's have a little look outside and see how things are doing outside. So, courgettes, can you see there? It's got a courgette on it. I think possibly it needed a bigger pot. Some of its leaves are just drying up a bit. I'm just going to take off any of them. I think it needs a good water and probably a feed. And I think if I was going to do this again, I would have done it in a slightly bigger pot. So it might need, I think it needs a bit more nutrition than what it's getting at the moment. So the called marigolds, they're still flowering. They've been fantastic, even through the heat wave. We've got a nice display of white cosmos, and if we want to keep them coming until the autumn, then we should be deadheading, which I haven't really been doing. So we take off any of the spent flowers. And then the rosemary's doing fantastic. Thyme's doing okay. Poppy's still there. So I'm quite happy. I don't know, I've got yeah, there is some beans. Again, I don't really think this pot is kind of big enough for the beans in it. I thought they were dwarf. They are dwarf, but they seem to have a climbing tendency. But anyway, I've got a few beans on there. But I think if I'd done it in a big, deeper pot, they would have done a bit better. Could have had like a deeper, bigger pot with about 3 plants climbing up a wigwam. Probably would have been a bit more successful, but not bad. Okay. And the final thing I'm going to show you is how to propagate strawberries from runners. So this is our strawberry patch, one of them. This is where your strawberries in your pack this time have come from, and I propagated them, and strawberries are really easy to propagate because at this time of the year they make new plants they put out runners. So this is the original plant here, and then the plant will put out runners like this, and that's a new potentially new strawberry plant. It's already started to put some roots out. That's without me doing very much. You see this plant's got quite a few, some there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a plant that I want to be a new strawberry plant, and I've got a piece of wire here, and I'm just going to peg it so I can help it by putting a little hole, and then I'm going to stick my little wire in, and I've pegged it down to the ground there to help it root, and that'll be a new plant. And you could do that. It's usually the first ones are usually the best plants, but sometimes you can get multiple. Well, a lot of these have already done it themselves without too much effort on my part, and this patch really needs a bit of TLC. It's been covered up with a shade netting, so it really needs a good weed. But this one has actually put a runner down itself, without any interference from me, because nature does its own things and the plant wants to propagate itself. So I've dug this one up here and I'm going to put the runner there. These are the ones I'm leaving them to develop some roots, but this one's already got some roots, so I'm going to cut the runners either side of it. And you can see I've got a little strawberry plant there. It's got its roots here. I've got a pot of compost and just dib a hole in it. You don't want to put them too deep. They like their crowns above the compost, otherwise they rot, which is where some of you may have gone wrong last time we did strawberries. Don't do them too deep. And then I think to help it get established, I am going to take off some of these bigger leaves, which may seem a bit harsh, but it has got some new growth on here, and that's just to encourage it to establish its roots and to put a bit of new growth on, healthy new growth. And it's very, very easy, and it's plants for free. So would encourage you to look after your strawberry, and from one plant you could have multiple. You could have a bed full of strawberries. It's that easy. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching and happy gardening.